Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Expats in Ukraine with your host, me, Corey. Today, my guest, he is from the U.S. He is a U.S. Marine. His name is Troy Offenbecker. What's up, Troy? How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing all right, man. It's good to have you here. I know we had a beer before, and I was talking to you then, and your stories were super interesting to me that I just had to have you come on the podcast, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're here. So what I like to do to start the podcast, just to get, people at home better acquainted with, who Troy is, I like to do this icebreaker. It's basically, I have two options and you just pick which one that you prefer, okay?
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one, apple cider or compote?
Compote.
Compote, okay, right on. Because apple cider, it's very popular in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Where you're from, yeah. So I'm trying to get Michigan or Ukraine kind of themed options. So Saginaw Bay or the Black Sea?
Black Sea.
Black Sea?
Yeah.
Have you been to Saginaw Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it's not too close, not too far from where you're from.
Yeah, I used to fish out there.
There's the fish out there. Okay, and what makes the Black Sea better? Bigger fish?
It's not in Michigan.
It's not Michigan. Okay. So next one, pasties or vareniki?
Oof. I'll have to go with pasties, I guess.
Pasties. Okay, right on. Yeah, I had to look up what pasties were or what's food is locals in Michigan.
Yeah.
So what's a pasty?
You've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen an image. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll get you some so you can try it.
Okay, yeah, give me some. Bring them from the U.S., man. Next time you're over there. I haven't been to the U.S. in years, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay. Last one, Midland or Kyiv?
Kyiv.
Kyiv. Okay, right on. Why Kyiv? What's wrong with Midland, man?
Yeah.
It's Michigan.
It's Michigan. Yeah.
It's Michigan. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
Kyiv's a great city, man. The people are great. So.
Yeah. No, it's really great here. I love Kyiv. If someone asked me, Kyiv or LA, I would say Kyiv, man. Yeah. And they would look at me like I'm crazy.
Same. I've been to LA a few times too. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, people that visit LA, yeah, I mean they can attest. Like Kyiv's probably a lot better if you visited both. Yeah. But okay, so we'll start like this. Why the hell are you in Ukraine?
Short answer, man, is just the right thing to do. I really believed in the cause, and I've helped other countries that have been invaded and things that have happened. I've helped with the Peshmerga. So
the Peshmerga, it's like Kurdish,
yeah,
right?
The Kurdish Peshmerga. So when I joined them in 2015, they were one of the only groups that were fighting ISIS at the time. Mm-hmm. So like my country, we were given munitions and dropping bombs and stuff, but we didn't really have anybody that was over helping. So I found a group, basically bought a ticket and went over as a volunteer to help.
So you were in the U.S. Marines before then, right?
Yeah, I did 6 years.
6 years, okay. And then after that, you went to fight in Kurdistan, right? Mm-hmm. And how does this work? Because you're a foreign fighter at this point, and I guess not a lot of people recognize the Kurds as being a sovereign nation.
Yeah. It was kind of tough to find like an avenue to get there at first. Mm-hmm. After I got there, it was great. Like the people were really welcoming. Everything was good besides, as Ramadan at the time. Mm-hmm. Didn't get to eat a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a fat American, so I like to eat a lot. But
you're not that fat. You're more stocky than anything, man.
But other than that, I mean, it was great. Like the people were really, really helpful to get me around, and then also at the same time, like extremely welcoming once they realized what I was there for. But yeah, the Kurds, great people. They remind me a lot of the Ukrainians in their fight and stuff. So when I heard about Ukraine, I had buddies that were here years before, visited Kyiv, mm-hmm. told me about the people, the culture. And once they put the call for people to come, it took me a couple months because I had to sell my house, my vehicles. I had a small business at the time we had talked about. Mm-hmm. So it took me a little while to like offload that and then sell everything for that. So it was about 2.5 months from the original call that I finally got here.
Okay. So Ukraine, right?
Yep.
So what's interesting to me, and we'll get to like Ukraine in a second. What's interesting to me is that there's so many Americans I know that probably don't even know this ethnic group, Kurds, or can't even point to where this Kurdistan would be on a map. And yet you decided that it was worth fighting for this area. How did this happen?
So I fought in Fallujah in 2006 to 2007. The Iraqis that I met were like the ones that I worked with, the Jundi, the shorta, like the police and the soldiers, really great guys. They just wanted to protect their families. And it was, like seeing that after ISIS had taken over Iraq and started Kurdistan, they started ethnically cleansing the Kurds, mass genocide. It just it pissed me off to the point where, I wasn't going to sit at home and just watch it on the news when I knew that I could help. So
yeah,
dialed some things in on the internet, finally found a group. It's kind of hard to trust people. In the beginning, I almost got set up by like a lone wolf ISIS guy. He was like trying to buy my ticket. And one of my friends, a Kurd that I had kept in touch with, he messaged me and was like, hey, nobody knows who this guy is. So like, be careful. And then, they had their own like cyber warfare too. Mm-hmm. And they found out that he was basically supporting ISIS and was just trying to get me over
wow.
there. Yeah. So, on my way home, I almost got kidnapped as well.
On your way home?
On my way back from fighting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So where were you based in Kurdistan?
Tazkurmatu. So I wasn't far from Kirkuk.
It wasn't far from where? I'm sorry.
Kirkuk.
Okay.
Kirkuk. Yeah. So I was in the battle for Kirkuk. Basically, I got there July 4th. Mm-hmm. Got picked up by my commander, went to the base, and then like the following day we got surrounded and attacked by ISIS. So it was one after another kind of.
Yeah. How does ISIS fight? Because they're not technically like a military. They're just a bunch of ragtag group of people.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah.
A lot of them were decent fighters. Uh-huh. At the time they had training from other countries. So they actually had agents from other countries embedded with them, helping them. Mm-hmm. So like I'll give them their attaboy. They were decent fighters, and they still they'd had good weapons. They had taken a lot from what the Americans left for the Iraqis. So, I didn't have to face tanks or anything like that there, but it was a lot of mortars, rockets, machine guns, snipers. Like my first battle with them, I almost got taken out by a sniper twice. So,
oh wow. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get this timeline straight. You're in the U.S. You're a U.S. Marine for 6 years, mm-hmm. and you decide to go to Kurdistan to fight with them. How long were you there?
I stayed a couple months. It was in 2000. Couple months. Yeah.
Which year?
2015.
2015. Okay, a couple months there. And then what was Troy Offenbecker doing between then and the invasion?
So I came back to the U.S. I started a marijuana business and was...
Oh, what business?
Marijuana business.
Marijuana business. Okay.
Yeah, so
I can get down with that.
Yeah, I was doing that. Same time I was doing security for companies and private individuals.
Okay.
So like I had a good income. Everything was doing pretty well, but there was something lacking. It was just, stagnant. I felt like money isn't everything, so the amount of money coming in wasn't making up for sitting home feeling like I was doing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know you too well. We just had like that beer that one time. From the impression I got of you, you just seem like a fighter. Like you're someone that fights. Like this is like what you're built for. This is what you do. I don't know. Is this like a proper impression, I guess?
I guess the Marine Corps indoctrination, maybe.
Exactly. Got you, huh?
Yeah, it worked well for me.
Yeah, it's hard being a civilian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. I'll teach you. Oh, we'll have a beer. I'll teach you how to be a civilian, man. Just relax. Yeah. But I'm glad you're on our side. Our side, yeah. I guess I'm not Ukrainian, but I just feel like Ukraine is my home.
Yeah,
I know.
Same.
Yeah. So you moved to Ukraine in which year? 2022?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which month?
So I got here at the end of May, mm-hmm. and I was in the West for about a week instructing, teaching like medical stuff, teaching the police tactics and things. Mm-hmm. And then I got a call because initially I came to fight, but I found a unit and that's what they were doing. After about six days, I got a call. That was when Severodonetsk was being taken over.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So I got a call and they were like, do you want to join this team? We need guys. And like, we know of you, we know your experience. So you fit well. It was kind of like a SF team here.
Okay. If it's not like private information, what group did you join?
Originally I joined Alpha Team.
Alpha Team.
In the International Legion.
Okay, right on. Yeah. International Legion.
So within 2 hours of getting the call, I packed up everything I had. One of my Ukrainian buddies took the rest of my stuff. Mm-hmm. He was an injured soldier, so he was back in Ivano-Frankivsk. Yeah. He kept the rest of my stuff, like my laptop and everything, held it for me. And then I went east So I came to Kyiv first to sign contract, get my weapon.
Mhm.
And it was like 2 days later, I was in Kramatorsk and doing operations with them.
Oh wow. So what was your role then in the Ukrainian army? You were like a Marine, right?
Yeah. So basically, like in the Marine Corps, we call it rifleman.
Okay.
So like I fight. Like I do assaults, reconnaissance.
Assaults.
Yeah. So I'm not like a good sniper. I'm not, but I'll be behind a sniper rifle or a spotter. I also do like defensive positions, holding lines and stuff like that. That's my least favorite, but
Yeah.
predominantly like we do assaults and reconnaissance.
Yeah. Before we get into what you were doing like on the front line or in these cities, when you first came to Ukraine, what were your first impressions?
It was a shock, man.
Why?
I couldn't read anything, couldn't understand shit, and then it was, the people were really nice, but at the same time, it was just like this culture shock, kind of like, when you first get to Iraq or something like that, and you're seeing all these signs, and you
No idea what it says. Yeah.
don't know what the hell's going on. So it was a bit of a shock, but it was real good to see the people still in like good spirits for everything that was happening.
Yeah. And do you know any Russian or Ukrainian now?
Yeah,
Yeah?
a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to learn because I've been busy. Some of that's my own self being lazy, but I know enough to get around on the battlefield and at the bars as well.
Yeah, at the bars. Yeah, me too, man. No matter which country I'm in, I know how to get around on those. But yeah, so tell me, did you have any like situations when you're assimilating that were kind of funny to you or unusual to you? I know the language is an issue, but is there anything else about the culture that was like really hard to get used to?
Yeah, the Slavic stare.
Slavic stare.
At first, like
What's a
how
Slavic
the
stare?
men,
Yeah.
obviously they see I'm different. They give you that like stare, kind of figure out who you are. It was like, fuck is this guy staring at? You know?
Yeah.
But really, they're just like inquisitive and wondering, if you're a soldier or they think you're CIA or something like that. So they're just kind of staring at you. That was a little bit hard to get used to at first because, like where I'm from,
It's fight, right?
like somebody's got a problem with you if they're doing that. But here it's I don't know if it's like more endearing. It's just like this inquisitive kind of like, thank you for being here.
For me, it's more curious, especially when, this probably happens to you a lot. Whenever I'm speaking English, like in a crowded place, maybe like the metro, Marshutka, I'm just walking like in the mall, and I speak English, people like just look, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always like doing this. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend, she would always say like, whenever we speak English together, people are always looking at us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, after a while, I got used to it. It's just what happens when you're an English speaker in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and so you're learning language right now, right? You're learning Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're fighting in these in this international legion that you said, do you just speak English?
Yeah, most of our guys speak English. A lot of the Ukrainians that we side by side with, they speak English or broken English. We always have a translator as well, that can get on the radio and do stuff for us. But when we're like a map overlay or doing that stuff, basically everybody speaks a relatively like helpful amount of English. So it's not it's not a detriment that I don't know, how to fully speak Ukrainian yet. So can still help without it. But
yeah. So you quickly told me how it was like, joining, the Kurds in the Peshmerga, right? Peshmerga. Okay. So what was the process like joining like the International Legion or this Alpha? What do you say? Yeah. How was the process? You just filled out an application? I don't know.
Yeah. So back then it was a little bit different. Things were being kind of rushed.
2022?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there's a lot longer process. They do background checks and like really dig in because I hate to admit this, but there's been a lot of shitty Americans that have came over here, guys fleeing from something or people that are just trying to, get a book or whatever it may be. But they're not really here for the cause.
Yeah. Do you know any examples? You don't have to say names. Do you know any examples of people that are like this?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Some of the guys, they show up for like 2 weeks and, they get their photos, they go back home, they have their little parade and they're Slavo-Ukraini forever, but, they may have been in one fight or not even. We've also had guys that were felons on the run, for certain things that like, I'm not going to get into. It's just disgusting things.
Yeah.
And we had one of them in our group and I was like, as soon as I found out, I was like, get him out of here within an hour. I was like, I'm going to go take a nap, get him the fuck out of here. Cause if not, like things are going to end poorly. So like once everybody found out he was gone, but you have guys that do that stuff. Not so much now because they can't really get away with it. But when I initially joined, it was pretty quick. It was like you go, you sign a contract, you get issued a rifle.
Hmm.
There might be a slight background check just to make sure you're not like on Interpol or something like that.
Yeah.
But the majority of guys that were here in the beginning, they were here to fight. A lot of the guys came to fight. So there wasn't this like glamorization of it like there is now,
Yeah.
where people see social media and they see people like have a big following or whatever for what they're doing, and I think they try to like emulate that or copy it.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the opportunities of having the best guys. Where I used to get questions from people like, "Oh, I want to come join your team," and I'm like, "All right, what's your background?" Never been prior service, never been in combat, which is like the big thing as well. And then they're trying to tell me, like they hunt, and I'm like, it's a little bit different here. It's like the artillery
deer shoot back here.
Yeah, it's like the deer have artillery.
Yeah, exactly.
And tanks and helicopters. So, it's been a lot better, I think, with the background checks and stuff. Because after about the first year, it was tough. There was a lot of guys just pouring over here and trying to make a name or whatever it was. They'd show up for 2 weeks to a month, get their photos, get their time on the ground, and then waste those assets. We'd have to replace them in a team and whatnot. So
Yeah.
things are a little bit different with the Peshmerga. I didn't sign anything. Basically, just showed, here's my passport, give me an AK, and I go fight.
Oh wow.
So
That's crazy. So what would you say the difference is between maybe like military doctrines like U.S., Kurdish Peshmerga, and then International Legion?
Discipline.
Discipline. Okay.
I'd say discipline's like the biggest one. In the U.S. Marines, we have a lot longer training structure. Like my basic, which that's what everybody calls, but my boot camp was 3 months long, and that was
in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting your ass chewed. You're getting told to make your bed. You're getting told when to brush your teeth, how to brush your teeth.
So is boot camp just like the movie Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not as bad now because Mothers of America or whatever.
Yeah, they don't put soap in like a pillowcase. And
I can't say that doesn't still happen, but you have to really for that. So
yeah,
the discipline is like a big thing. Here, it's coming along really well. Like I've always preached, the guys, especially the Ukrainians that are going to the front, they need more training. They need more time with their weapons. They need more time with medical training. Learning how to pack their IFAKs, figuring out what really needs to be in it, where to put their IFAKs, where to put their tourniquets. So it's good to see that it's like coming around, and it has been. But I think that was the biggest thing, is like the differences. The U.S. Marines really break you down. Like as an individual, they take everything away from you. You can't call home. You can't talk to anyone. I think I got one phone call a month for 5 minutes or something.
Wow.
For 3 months. And then after that, I went
So why do they do this? Just like make you more independent, toughen you up?
it kind of like turns you into a machine. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like
okay.
you understand your mental strength. Like when they take everything from you, break you down. Like you think you have nothing, right? But then you realize you only build from that base. So, it was hard, but at the same time, like I think it's been really valuable to me, especially on the ground, where the discipline that I have and the things that I learned, not everyone knows that. So, I mean, it's as simple as like, if a drone's in the air, taking concealment up top, right, from the trees, but also knowing you can't lean on that tree if there's no wind, because it'll shake that one tree. And then that drone sees that. I've had it happen to us because guys did do that shit. And then immediately after, we were getting shelled because, they'd have the grid coordinate. And as soon as they see that tree move, they know somebody's in there.
Wow.
So, they'd shell us. But the discipline's the biggest thing. I mean, there's other factors as well, but like, I'm not trying to rip on other militaries. I'm not trying to say ours was the best. It's just we have longer training and it's more in depth. And like I said, after the 3 months, we go to, for myself, since I was infantry, like I was going to fight. I didn't do like computers or anything else.
Yeah.
Since I was going to fight, I went to a 2-month school on basic like weapons, for machine guns, for rockets, for all that, and learned everything that I'd be utilizing in combat. So, not a lot of guys get that here. They don't really get that in the Peshmerga. So you have that like background where before you step off into combat, you've became really functional with that weapon. You're comfortable with it. Like you're not scared of a grenade, where I've seen guys take out a grenade to throw it and they're shaking, where, because it's scary,
Yeah.
If you fuck it up, it's going to blow up, and it's going to blow up you or your friends. So, and if you don't throw it far,
Yeah.
like I've been on, the receiving end, and I've also thrown some grenades that were close where the shrapnel's past me, and it was my own grenade that I threw. But,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
these are like the stereotypical grenades, right? It's like it has like ridges in it, so like the shrapnel.
Yeah. So you have like pineapple grenades. We have,
Oh, the pineapple ones.
yeah, we've had some here. There's like some really shitty grenades here. The impact grenades, I refuse to use them because half the time they don't blow up.
What do they look like?
It's like just like a ball, like a baseball kind of.
Oh,
but
it's like
smaller.
a ball. It's like smooth.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's designed to pull and then throw and then detonate on impact. And if it doesn't detonate, then it goes off after a couple seconds.
Oh, it's unpredictable.
Yeah, but like my favorite grenades here, I always preach on them. They're the DM50 ones.
Uh-huh.
So it's like this new German grenade, and it can double as a flashbang. So you can unlock the base of it and pull the shrapnel sleeve off, and then just throw it to like be concussive.
Oh, wow.
Which obviously here we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But, if you were clearing a place in Fallujah and you thought there might be kids in the room, you still have to shock the bad guy with the AK. So here it's different. We're only worried about killing Russians. I never pull the sleeve off, but it's got these slits
Yeah.
and it's polymer. So there's all these like mini slits where it just throws shrapnel everywhere. And the charge inside of it's really powerful as well. I've tested every grenade before I've taken them into combat, and that's definitely my favorite one.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I've just seen like, these pineapple grenades, just like in family members' house, but they take like the munitions out or something.
Yeah,
like
the fuse.
the fuse out. Yeah. So it's just like this thing, but they're heavy.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, these DM50 ones are probably like half the weight, I would say. About half the weight of those. So you can throw them a lot farther.
Yeah. And so, you're part of the assault group. So you've probably been in like many different battles, right? Can you tell me the battles you were in? Like which cities, which areas?
I've been pretty much like all over Ukraine. So Zaporizhia, like all over Donetsk. Like I was fighting in Bakhmut, Kupiansk, Kharkiv, Makivka. Like I've basically like I've fought all over. One of my last teams I was in, we were a fully autonomous team. So we basically had the freedom to go to any AO, like any area of operation. And as long as the commanders, Ukrainian or Legion, which usually we just work with Ukrainians, that's the guys that need our help the most, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would have a meeting with their commander, or my buddy would have a meeting. We'd sit down, hash out their map overlay of what needed to be taken or what needed to be done, and then embed with them, whether it was an assault or we'd take in sniper rifles, machine guns, let them set up their assault and then cover with support by fire. So, we would try to put the enemy in like an L-shaped ambush. So when Ukrainians were forward of them, we would push a little further. So when the Russians would try to aggress, we could have a direct line,
Oh, wow.
and get rid of them.
What was the most, which area of Ukraine, which battle were you in that was the most intense for you?
Bakhmut was pretty bad.
Bakhmut, you were there, Bakhmut.
Yeah. I was there in the beginning, and I was there for a couple months working.
So this was 2022 or 2023, right? Or can you tell me like the date so I just get like a timeline in my head?
December
2022.
Yep.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and then we were there operating in and out for a couple months. It was pretty bad, when we first got in. So I don't know if you saw the video of my Instagram of getting blown up and all that.
Oh yeah,
that was in Bakhmut. That was like right in the beginning of it when they finally got into the city.
Yeah, can you explain like that situation just in case the people at home haven't seen the video?
Okay, so we were tasked to take some houses back from the Russians and then pass
Take some
them.
houses, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were going to come in. The Russians were holding an area over the street that, like, I don't want to like name anything specific, but our job was to come in, take these houses back and pass them to the Ukrainians. And then we were just going to beat feet out. Like it was just going to be a couple hours of shooting, getting rid of bad guys. And then we were out. Like we weren't going to stay overnight or any of that. And when we came up to the situation, some of the Ukrainians had already tried to push, and we were told there were no Ukrainians there.
Yeah.
So we couldn't just like open up. We had to like really monitor and assess the situation. So as we're there, there's Ukrainians that pushed across the street, pushed the Russians back a little bit, and they're in a firefight with some Russians.
Oh, really quick. How does this work when you're pushing the Russians back? Just like small arms, you have a tank with you, an APV?
Yeah, small arms.
Just small arms, and you're just, wow.
Yeah, house to house.
And how many meters would you say the Russians are from you?
At this point, with the Ukrainians fighting them, like 30, 40 meters.
Wow.
They were kitty corner. across the road.
Yeah.
So I was looking out. I'm sorry, this is where I almost got shot in the face by a sniper, but I was looking out, trying to make sure we didn't fire on any Ukrainians, that they weren't fighting each other, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to assess what's going on, and I'm explaining to my buddy, like, they're right there, they're shooting at this house before we open up on it, because we were going to shoot grenades at it and stuff, 40 millimeter grenades. And as I'm saying it, it was my own fault. Like, I broke the crest of this house, and I was looking to get a little better view, and a bullet goes past my face. So there was a Russian sniper or something that was kind of on our side, lined up with me, and it missed me about 3 inches. But before that, we were trying to get across that area before we had found the Ukrainians. And while we were basically like in line to push across this road, they had seen us on the drones, and they had shot a mortar at us, and it had blown up like right next to my head. Gave me a slight concussion or whatever.
Concussion, wow.
Yeah, I'll show you the video again, but yeah, it rocked me pretty good. So we had to run back in the house and kind of like reestablish, like, all right, that, because they had also shot an RPG right at us, and it like hit my buddy, pulled back, and it blew up right in front of the wall, like right in front of him. So they knew right where we're at. We had to try to figure out a different route, avenue, because we would have just got chopped up if we would have kept using that same.
What's going through your mind when you're in this kind of situation, or is it just like pure adrenaline?
Honestly, like, not even. It's just try to stay calm.
Just try to stay calm, like. Yeah, just trying to kill you. These people are trying to kill you. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm trying to kill them too. So. And I'm better. So.
And better.
So I just try to keep my composure and make sure I don't miss anything. Because when you are like wired up and you're running around, or you're scared, it's easier to miss all these little things that could get guys killed. So it's best to just try to say, fuck it. If it happens, it happens. But take a breath.
So what happened after that then? So you were inside trying to reassess the situation, figure out a new route, and you guys obviously made it back safe. But was there did you have any troubles like escaping?
No. We stuck around for a little bit. We'd killed 4 Russians with the 40 millimeter. And then basically it started getting dark.
What's a 40 millimeter? It's just
the 203, the grenade launcher.
Oh, grenade launcher. Okay.
Yeah. So we had dropped a couple and basically helped the Ukrainians out. And we were like, hey, like, we're past our timeline. We've stayed here longer than we were supposed to. We had to get back to get our vehicles, and we had like a 30-minute drive back to where we were staying. So we basically said, all right, we'll cut out. They had a couple wounded. We're like, we'll get everybody and we'll move together. We get back to where our vehicles were staged, and they were like all blown up and shit. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, we had to, it was a pain in the ass. Well, I had to cram in one vehicle because one took a direct hit with artillery.
Wow.
And then the vehicle I rode in, artillery hit in front. So it like kind of blew out the front of it, and one of the tires was flat, but we all just crammed in and drove back. And
where do you drive back to? Just back to, I guess, like base? I don't know.
We were staying at a house.
Oh, okay. A house. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't like to give away a lot of stuff.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm just curious. Like I will probably never be in a situation like you. So I'm just curious to understand, like, what happens? Like, what do people do? Yeah. It's so interesting. And I heard that not heard, but I saw like a lot of videos, and I guess it's normal practice for people to take souvenirs off of somebody that's they killed, I guess. Is this like normal practice? You take like the
well, a lot of that's SSE, sensitive site exploitation, right? It's so you know what unit was there. Same thing as like grabbing a radio. If they don't know, then we can listen into their comms. If you have a unit patch, you know what unit they came from or what unit's in that area, which will show you what kind of strengths are there, right? Like, I'm not about war trophies. The only thing that I've kept was a grenade pin from one of the Russians that I killed. And that was it just because it stuck to my thumb when I pulled it off. So by the end of it, I was like, oh, and I kept that. But, I'm not really that guy that likes to go mess around with the dead bodies unless it's like a patch or something that can prove who was there, and it helps with the intelligence. Yeah, because I saw this Instagram channel, and basically it's like these military guys. They're all anonymous, but they take patches off of them and they auction them off like on social media, and they raise money this way. Yeah. I mean, that's cool to do that. After we pass the intelligence to the Ukrainians, so they know what units exactly, and they can figure out the strengths and the weaknesses of that unit. So as long as they pass up the information first, I don't see any issues with it.
Yeah.
The guys are trying to kill Ukrainians and kill you. So fuck them.
So this was in, where was this exactly? Like this battle that you were talking about? Because you were like all over the place.
That was Bakhmut.
Oh yeah, Bakhmut. That's right. Because you've been all over the place, is what I mentioned. So okay, Bakhmut. And so, do you notice a difference between like fighting, in this like Bakhmut area? You said it's like the worst, and like maybe the south, like Zaporizhia area. You said you were in.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that was city.
Yeah.
We were in the woods before that and stuff, and then they finally pushed into the city. But there's really big differences. I don't like fighting in the woods because you have to rely on digging trenches and bunkers. Where in the cities, there's always places for cover, right? Like if you start getting shot at, there's a door you can kick in and get into a building, or there's something hard you can get behind.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they start artillerying or shooting tanks, there's always something that's like a structure you can hide under or with. Where in the tree lines and out in the open fields, like you're at the mercy of their accuracy.
Yeah. And Ukraine is somewhat flat, right? Would you say that?
In some areas, like up to the north, like when I was fighting in Kupiansk, it was pretty hilly.
Okay.
Where I was at.
Because I was thinking, since Ukraine, a lot of areas are quite flat, wouldn't there be like a sniper at all time, maybe with some infrared, and they can just see like all the movements no matter where you are? Like, aren't you scared about this, or how do you avoid this?
You just have to move with like concealment, right? Like we try to stay concealed in our movements. Not obviously not as visible. I don't want to give away a lot of things,
yeah.
But like obviously everybody has thermal suits now, so that's like a big thing if you're worried about that.
Yeah.
But like I say, speed is security. So just get in quick, smash them, kill them, whatever, and then get out. Like that's our biggest advantage is speed. So like I always look for some sort of concealment or cover in case there is a sniper, which we've encountered quite a few. But to be fair, they're not as good as the snipers that I know. So, it's not, I don't want to like take anything from that, like take away from them, but it's not as worrisome. Like I said, that sniper in Bakhmut missed me by like 3 inches.
Yeah.
Where if that were a U.S. Marine sniper, I wouldn't be here right now. So,
yeah.
And if that was some of the Ukrainian snipers I know, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. But you would probably be more scared about drones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because drones are always watching, right? On the front line, especially the front line, they're always watching. Yeah. So how do you avoid this? I don't know, because you don't have like a secret. So they can see your movements like at all time, really.
Yeah.
Or you just have to be quick.
Speed, security, and then overhead concealment. There are a couple things that like we do. I can tell you offline.
Oh yeah.
To try to minimize that risk, but when it comes to drones, they see everything, and that's why I preach like, movements in between the trees and like not touching trees, not hitting them, because they'll see these treetops move.
Yeah.
Even if it's a pretty solid tree, you bump up against a small branch, it shakes everything, and their pilots just like ours are trained to look for those things. So
yeah.
Speed is the biggest thing I can say. If you have that ability, which some of the train we've went through, it's kind of impossible, but you still try to move as fast as you can. But the biggest thing is overhead concealment and finding it.
Yeah. How common is a drone jammer? I've seen these online and they're being sent to Ukraine, but how common is it for someone to use that actually? It's very inconvenient.
We've used them a few times.
Yeah.
The only, like the downfall is the battery life. Like some of the missions we do, it's a day or two, where if the battery lasts 30 minutes to 4 hours, you have to turn it on when you hear them, and you constantly hear drones. So my big thing that I've been preaching since the beginning of the war is shotguns.
Oh yeah, I was about to mention this as well.
Yeah, so I've said that since the beginning. Guys used to fucking laugh at me, and I was like, I've hunted, things out of the sky. I'm like, if it's in the sky, you want a shotgun. Like the drone jammers are great, but like I said, they run out of battery. And if you don't have anything to recharge it, you might make it on your infill. You might get in all right, but then they still know you're there and they're going to expect you to leave. So if your drone jammer's down on the exfil, you're just hoping that they don't find you again.
Yeah, but how convenient is it to walk around with a shotgun? Because they're quite big, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a shotgun, then you have like your assault rifle, I can imagine.
Yeah, but what I was trying to do is like delegate guys to carry the shotguns, right?
Okay.
Where if you have an M4, I carried a shotgun and a M4 in Fallujah.
Oh, wow.
And that was in a city. So
Why do you have a shotgun in the city?
for breaching,
Okay.
for shooting doors open.
Yeah.
So here, like that's not really an excuse. It's lighter than the drone jammers.
Yeah.
Those things are quite heavy, especially if you have the backpack jammer, which means you can't carry a pack of your own stuff. So I think the shotgun would be the best alternative for now. Like, and you can reload.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you could also have a buddy take extra ammo for you in case you run out. Where if you're taking a drone jammer, you have to have someone carry an extra battery. And I've carried radios that were 20 pounds one night from Foxtrot. Like, this was in Fallujah, but it's a pain in the ass. Like, for someone my size, I had to carry this big ass radio, and then also I had to carry like 3 to 4 spare batteries for the days we were going to be gone.
Yeah.
And at one point I was carrying 119 pounds on my back.
So, oh wow.
It's, if you're looking at the difference, where I just think that shotguns are a better alternative for now until we get a longer lasting battery or something that's more effective. And also with the drone jammers, you have to be on the right frequency. So if a drone's coming in, you can try to jam it, and there's like 4 freaks that they use, and you have to like switch to find that right one. But then what they're doing now is both sides are sending in multiple drones, so that one frequency is jammed, but then you have 2 or 3 more drones coming in. So
yeah. Okay. And so the drone jammer works like this: you aim it, you shoot. It has like a wide vision for this frequency.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple kinds. You have like a backpack jammer that just basically puts out like I think it was like 200 meter radius of a bubble.
Yeah.
We used to have similar in Fallujah, but we had them on vehicles, and it would stop the IEDs that were detonated.
Yeah.
Unless it was hardlined. So it works similar to that. And then you have the handheld ones where you have to like scan, and it'll just kind of put this wave out and like freeze it or drop it. And then you have the guns. So it looks kind of like a futuristic gun, and you have to sight in on it and then squeeze and hold it. And once it's locked on, you can like bring it down to the ground. So there's a couple different kinds, but to each their own. I would rather carry a shotgun than a drone jammer and have it run out of battery, because
Oh, totally, man. So besides like shooting down drones with the shotgun, what other uses would it have? Like breaching as well, right?
Yep, breaching. Not so much with what you're using for the drones, because you'd want birdshot.
A birdshot is like that Elmer Fudd gun.
Yeah, well, like it's just got a spread, so it's a bunch of BBs. Yeah. What I used to breach was lockbuster, so it was like soft lead that was slugs.
Okay.
But you could also utilize that in a trench, where say you get to your objective, you could also have slugs.
Yeah.
And clear trenches or clear areas like that. Like I've cleared a couple buildings with a shotgun, even when I had my rifle, because it was slung behind me.
Yeah.
So as soon as I came in, I just decided to clear with the shotgun, where, if somebody got in my way, it was.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like, your action like this, and we were talking about Bakhmut earlier, I see that you were quoted online. You said that, the life expectancy on the front line is about 4 hours.
Yeah, that was about both sides. Yeah. The casualty expectancy at the time, I was tired and kind of misquoted, but basically it was just such a bad like meat grinder that everyone on both sides coming in was just eating artillery. So if you were one of the guys that, poor bastards that was in the trenches up front or trying to hold the buildings on either side, it was, your life expectancy was extremely short, or, the expectancy of you not getting wounded was.
So you must have had like many of your I want to say colleagues, your group mates, your squad mates, they probably were casualties eventually, right? How do you deal with this? Whether they're injured or whether they pass away?
Yeah, we lost a few guys in Bakhmut. I lost a lot of Ukrainian friends there too. Like for evacs and stuff, we always have like a casualty collection point set up. And when someone gets wounded, you have to try to stabilize them, depending on what it is. Like, there's self-aid. So like if I take shrapnel to my arm and we're fighting and I look at it and I can take care of it myself, I'll wrap it, whatever, and go back to the fight. If my arm's blown off, then I have to try to put a tourniquet on it. If I can't get a tourniquet, then I call for a buddy. He puts tourniquet on me. And, once that tourniquet's applied, that person becomes a priority to get out, because keeping the tourniquet on for hours, you can cause blood clots or,
Yeah.
all this stuff. So it just depends on the severity of the injury. If you're in a really big fight and someone's killed, like, you just kind of have to deal with it. You have to continue to push until you can get out safely. So
Yeah. How does it affect morale though? Like, imagine, with your group and then one of them gets killed by an artillery and then you have to keep pushing forward. How does this affect your morale?
Honestly, I don't know. I think everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I've lost friends or had them wounded, it like pisses me off more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Makes you want to fight harder?
Yeah, like I prefer to keep going and make them feel more than what we just took. So, some guys like to get back, which I understand, especially if someone you're really close with or whatever, seeing them wounded and not knowing if they're going to be all right. Like, it's tough, but like I said earlier, try to just be calm about stuff. And, if you do lose a friend and you can get out, then it's different than having to stay there. But I've been lucky where most of the time I've had things like that. I've been able to leave with my friend's body or, get them out. So
did you, since like these are your friends, you said, were you ever the person that has to notify the family?
No. That's always the military, and that's the thing. We used to call it River City. So when someone would die or get wounded, no one was allowed to like call home or anything until the family was notified, because in the U.S. military, they send like a chaplain and an officer to their house in case they're, because they're going to grieve. So they're there for them if they need anything. Here, obviously it's different because we don't have Ukrainians in the U.S. that can go to our families or, UK or whatever. But no, like I've never had to notify the families and never try to. I usually give it time, and then I'll reach out to the families after and let them know that I'm there. And if they need anything to, reach out, they can call whenever. But like one of the Marines that was here, I don't want to say his name, but he was killed in Avdiivka. And recently, like, I got to meet his family while they were here. They're gone now, so I can talk about it. But when they were here, I never said anything, got to meet the family, and we went out and took them out for food and just basically told them, like, I'm sorry, I was a Marine. So like, it means a lot to me that he was here. I never got to meet your son. We like knew of each other and stuff. We had a lot of the same friends, but like, I didn't ever physically meet him. So, it was like, I'm here. And that's basically all I can say is like, I'm here to listen. Like, they wanted to talk about stories from his childhood, and it was great to hear that, and kind of put this like relation where him and I were quite similar. He was a lot younger than me, but like growing up, we did a lot of the same things. Even when it came down to like joining the Marine Corps and why and stuff. So I've kept in touch with them, and always will. Like, if they ever need anything or need to talk, like, I'll always be there. But people at the same time need their space.
Yeah.
So, like, they're getting messages from a lot of people, and the Russians are bastards. So like, every time that happens, like, he has a younger sister, and the Russians found her social media, wrote her saying they were going to rape her, all this stuff, and they're already going through the loss of him. And then they have to see these messages and get these calls in the middle of the night and all this stuff, where I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but they threaten me constantly. And, they put my information out there. They put my son's information out there.
Wow.
They used to call me and I would answer it. I would FaceTime back and forth with the Russians and talk shit, and, like Wagner Group, they used to threaten me all the time. And
Wagner, wow.
Yeah, they sent me a black check or something, they called it, or a black mark. And we're like, if you come back to Bakhmut, we're going to cut your head off and all this stuff. So like, I'll call them.
What's a black mark?
I don't know.
Black check.
Some bullshit Russian. I don't know. It's
okay.
Kind of like some voodoo stuff or something.
Oh, I thought
I don't know.
They send you something physical, or they just say it's black check? Okay.
They had like a photo they sent me on Instagram of some thing in like their patch. And we're like, we're going to find you. And,
Wagner was ruthless, right? Especially like in Bakhmut.
Yeah. They were real bad. They didn't care. They killed civilians. They killed kids. They had free reign. They were told they could do whatever they wanted, so they did it. But you had to constantly argue with them. Like, you're not gonna scare me away, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of convicts there too, right? In Wagner.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Because I know Ukraine is doing something similar, but the thing Russia, when they recruit convicts, it doesn't matter what your crime is.
Yeah.
In Ukraine, it's like a bit different, right? Do you know about this?
Yeah, I've heard. With the Russians, I mean, they were pulling out life sentences for murder and rape and torture, and that's why sadly, that's why the Ukrainians got what they got when Wagner came through, is because these people are ruthless. They have no soul. They have no moral compass. I mean, the Ukrainians, they're fighting for their country. You know, I honestly, I can't say I'd have an issue with them doing that, other than that person being free after committing that crime. But what the Russians did was, it was disgusting, you know, and then they gave these guys free reign to do whatever. So,
you ever interacted with POWs? Yeah. How do you feel?
Indifferent, you know, because a lot of them, they'll try to say, you know, like, we didn't want to be here. But at the same time, there's always this option to surrender before you've shot at us.
Yeah.
You know, before you've killed one of us, you could have tried to surrender. So I still like really hate them. But at the same time, I can understand with seeing the videos of the Russians that did say they didn't want to come. I don't know if you've seen any of those that were leaked, but they're like basically crushing their skulls with sledgehammers in front of everyone and then saying who else doesn't want to go. You know, one of the last videos I seen, there were two guys that they're like, who doesn't want to go? And they stepped out. They grabbed them, took them over to a van, grabbed a sledgehammer, basically killed them in front of everyone. And it was like, who doesn't want to go now? So
ruthless, man. Is this like Wagner or is this?
Yeah, it's Wagner and the Russian military. But also at the same time, like, you know, they kind of have this North Korea vibe where, like, who knows what they'll do to their families if they say no. So
yeah,
I guess if you're willing to die here, I'll make sure of it. But, you know, you shouldn't have came here.
Yeah, I was so I had this girl on my podcast, Rima. She's I guess a volunteer medic.
Yeah, I met her.
Yeah, Rima's great. And then I was asking her, like, say that you come across a POW that's injured and you have to treat them. How would you feel? She's like, this would be like the worst thing in my life if I had to do this, but this is like my job. I have to do this. Say you came across, now, for example, you came across an injured Russian while you're doing your, I guess what you do on the front line, assault. You're assaulting like the front line and you come across an injured Russian. Like, what is the protocol here? Because you don't have to treat them, right? You're not a medic.
I do medic stuff as well, but
oh, you are a medic. Oh,
I can be.
You can be, okay.
Yeah, but I prefer not to be.
Okay.
It depends on what's happening, right? Like, if the assault's over, then yeah, we'll treat them. But that's the sole purpose of trying to get intelligence out of them. You know, that's me keeping you alive so the Ukrainians can take you and find out what you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say a lot because I don't know who's going to get mad about it, but no, I would rather prefer to just let them die. But on the downside of that is that's less information. You know, they might know things that we don't know from our drones or intelligence that we don't have. How many guys are there? What weapon systems they have? And every Russian that's came in captivity loves to talk and tell. You know, they always open up. So the best thing you could do is to save their life, get them in, and let the Ukrainian government handle it. And
how are the Russian POWs treated in Ukrainian custody?
Good, honestly, higher than my standards. So, you know, they're lucky, to be fair, because the Russians, they don't treat the Ukrainians the same. We've both seen it.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I'll never surrender. You know.
Yeah, like I had Sean Pinner on my podcast, and he was saying that he was basically beaten every day. Yeah. Sometimes he was starved, like 3 or 4 days without food. He said he was taped to a chair, like to the legs of the chair with his legs, and they would clip things on his fingers and electrocute him. They would clip them on his ears, electrocute him, like not even saying a word to him, interrogating him yet. They're just torturing him without even trying to get information. They just want to torture. It's sadistic.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was getting beaten every day, he said, and he said he met some other, foreign nationals, and he's like, this one guy, they taped this tape too tight to his face, and then his head was starting to swell, and they didn't care. Yeah. And then eventually they cut it off, and his eyes are so small he can like barely see because, yeah.
It's disgusting.
No, it's sick, man.
Yeah.
And I can imagine if, you're fighting, you wouldn't want to surrender either, right?
Yeah.
And this is the opposite because if you treat the POWs good, then it'll mean like it'll be less trauma for your soldiers killing another person. You'll get like intel, and the people will be less eager to fight till the death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't really make sense to me, but I guess this is just Russian culture.
Yeah. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to kill everyone anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they prefer to. But yeah, the Ukrainians treat them way better. Really well, like from the things that I've seen, because they don't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if there's nobody out there. They could beat on them if they wanted to. They don't. The most I've seen is them being pissed off and being like, "Why the did you come here? Excuse me, but why did you come here?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be our brothers. Like, why are you here?" And then they give this, stupid excuse of, "I had to," or it was a training mission or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Well, they typically come for money, right?
a lot of them, yeah. I think there's been quite a few that have been conscripted and made to come here, but
Yeah.
like Wagner, it was all about money.
You ever come across maybe foreign POWs fighting for Russia?
No, I haven't yet.
No? Yeah, because I heard stories about Cubans and Africans and
Yeah.
yeah, it's so crazy. And
Yeah.
but basically it'd just be for the money. And I heard stories about the Cubans were kind of tricked into coming and signing contracts.
Yeah, that was the same thing I heard.
Yeah. It's crazy. Are you into American politics at all? Are you invested in any of that?
I used to be, but being here, I haven't really followed much besides what's happened recently.
Yeah. So what do you think about what's happened recently with the Trump attempted assassination, JD Vance pick as vice president?
It's just crazy. It's wild, man. Because my buddies that talked about it, sometimes my Marines, they're like, they're going to try to kill him. And I'm like, I don't know, whatever. And then that shit happens. So it's just really wild to be an American right now and seeing all this and like all this division.
Yeah.
Where I've told my friends here, it was like, if they would have killed him, like I would have had to go back home because there would be a war going on in my country right now. Like people would have went crazy.
And if you don't mind me asking, what is your political affiliation, if you don't mind sharing?
I lean more conservative, but I'm not, like, I guess more like libertarian, but
Okay.
I have, I guess, more conservative ideals, but that's just because I don't want some guy in a dress going in the bathroom with my niece. Like that's kind of where I'm at. But, I don't really get into it too much. I just kind of stay away and let it do its thing. Like me as one person, there's not much that I'm going to change. So
we have an election coming up. What advice would you give to the American people?
don't stop supporting Ukraine, no matter who's president.
But there seems to be, one side that is more supportive, one candidate that's more supportive than the other.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
I see it, right? But at the same time, I understand where like Trump being like a deal maker is, where he's not going to put what he thinks on the table because then Putin will be able to say no right away. Where like Biden and the Democrats, like they're all about giving weapons and stuff, which is great. But at the same time, we need to stop the war. Like we need to find a way to end it because we're losing so many great Ukrainian men here. We have to end it eventually. And if we're dead set on not sending American troops here, even though they're allowing North Koreans and they're allowing, Chinese to come in and train, then what are we really doing? So whatever candidate is.
Would you approve American troops being sent to Ukraine?
Yeah.
You would approve that?
Yeah. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
It would end the war so fast. If you sent 100,000 Marines here, this war would be over.
Yeah.
Especially with the equipment and the training that they have. Like, and I'm not trying to like boast about my country and, saying Ukraine is anything less, but the abilities that we have and like the training that we have, where we spoke earlier, most of the Ukrainians that I've met going to the front line, they don't have 2 years of training experience or fighting or, 10 years in combat, like the guys that I know that are still in, they've been fighting for years and, decade. So I just think that it would really be bad for Russia if we allowed the U.S. military to come in here. And I get there, the whole will nuke or whatever. But I mean, if that's really on the table, the U.S. military should be here right now, because that's a scary thing. We should be pushing our way into Russia to stop that instead of letting this happen. I mean, if we really think that Putin is going to drop a nuke, if we send soldiers here, we should have already been here, because that's a whole different level of crazy.
Yeah.
That's unhinged, where, okay, so I can do whatever I want. My soldiers can rape, kill, whatever they want, and there's no war crimes for my side. But if you send your military that's way better than mine and they start to beat us, we're going to nuke Kyiv. Like, come on, man. Like him saying that right there, if I were president, I would have said, all right, send 200,000 instead of 100 now. Yeah. Like, let's push this guy shit in, because he needs to learn. Well, you're not just going to run free.
Well, your opinion then is different than both candidates, because both candidates are absolutely trying to avoid sending American troops.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I would like for that to not happen. But the thing is, if this war is going to go on another 10 years, which it could, if we just continue to supply weapons and we're fighting for these borders and there's no end state in sight, then why, if he can have other militaries come here, if Putin can, then why can't Ukraine? Why can Putin say, all right, well, I'm going to have some North Koreans come and fight for me, or I'm going to take soldiers from here. And it's not even like mercenaries. Yeah. It's soldiers from other militaries that are being sent by their military. But Ukraine can't have that same assistance when they're fighting for their sovereignty. Like they're fighting for their mainland, their entire country. Like, to me, it's just BS, man. Like, I don't want to see the US troops have to come here, but I'm not against it. And to be fair with what I've seen lately and how I feel this war could drag out, I would like to see it, because I think it would end it. I think it would end it a lot sooner, and it would save a lot more Ukrainian lives, civilian lives.
If someone offered you a role to recruit American soldiers that you know through your network or just in any capacity, would you be willing to do this? No. Or you feel like it's their decision if they want to fight?
No, man. I've had a lot of people try to talk to me about coming over, guys I served with, and I don't want that burden.
Yeah,
I've already lost a lot of friends, and my guys that I know, some of them are old and fat, some of them are still good, but it's like, I already have to talk to enough families. I don't want to have to talk to the families that I've known for 20 years and been really close to, because I'm the guy that talked him into coming over here or whatever. So I've always shied away from it. I've basically told all my Marines that wanted to come here, like, if you find a way, you come over here, I'll help you. I was like, but I'm not helping you find a ticket. I'm not helping you find a team. I'll take care of you when you're here. If you come here, like, you have to show me that absolute drive to be here, the same drive that I had, or like you just shouldn't be here. When I came, I really thought I was going to die. I thought I'd be dead by now. So I don't want to put that on them or their families. Like, they might come here for 2 weeks and get killed. One of my good friends, he was here for a week. He was on his first mission with us. And within 3 hours, he lost his leg. And he almost died in a trench sitting next to me. We were stuck there for 5 hours getting hit with artillery. And, it was his first mission. He's laying there, his leg's gone. He's bleeding out. We had to keep 3 tourniquets on him. And, it was 7 hours before we got him out. Like, I don't want to do that to other guys. Like, he made the commitment. I didn't know him before here. And I met him through channels, and he ended up getting, in the same team, and great guy. I'm glad I had the chance to meet him, but like, same time I look at that, I'm like, some of my best friends that I made in the Marine Corps, I don't want them to be here 3 hours and get shot in the face or, vaporized by artillery or something. So I don't ever like recruit or do any of that. If somebody does show interest, I tell them, message the Legion page or, message, TDF or whatever. Like, you can contact these guys, but I'm not going to say, yeah, I'll get you in my team, especially with like the teams that I operate in with what we do. Like, it's extremely dangerous, and I don't want that burden, to be honest.
It seems like you've been through a lot of trauma. Do you feel like you're a different person from when you first came to Ukraine to now?
Not so much, I guess. Like,
Uh,
I've seen a lot of shit before this. I think this just solidified like my hard stance on what I believed before.
mhm.
Like, you know, sometimes it really does take violence to stop an aggressor. Where before I was kind of like half passive, I guess. Like, oh,
Mhm.
if you can kind of turn the other cheek, they say, or whatever. But now it's like seeing the Russians and what they're doing. It's like, all right, you meet bastards like this with extreme force and you kill all of them. Like you wipe them out. Like you don't give them a chance to do this again. And like you can't trust the Russians' word. So they say, yeah, we have a peace deal. Look what happened last time. They
Yeah.
wanted to have peace, and during the ceasefire, who were the first ones to open fire?
Yeah.
They were. So it's just kind of solidified to me, like there is real evil in the world, and some of them just need to be eradicated. Like before, I used to think of like this second chance kind of thing,
Mhm.
but some people just don't deserve it. You can look at their actions and
And,
see that they're just never going to be a good person.
and this is why you choose to fight, right? Because
Mhm.
it's evil,
Yeah,
and you feel like you're fighting against evil, right?
yeah.
Okay. And what is your life like now? Are you still fighting?
No, I do instructing and stuff
Yeah.
right now. I think I gave you a brief thing. I've had around 6 concussions, maybe a little more. So
Yeah. I remember we were talking like before about this,
Yeah.
but for
So
the
I've-
audience, yeah.
I've had to take some time off. Basically, just because my head, my brain's been rattled a lot from artillery, tanks, and one of the last ones is a helicopter. So taking time off, I still instruct and try to like help guys with what they need, doing logistical stuff. But I'll be back fighting within the next month and a half. So
To the front line.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it seems like you're eager to go, man. I don't know. It's you've done a lot already for the country, and you still want to do more. It's
I love Kyiv, but
I don't know. It's,
my guys are all in the East and
yeah.
that way. So
And so your family back home, they're just like fine with Troy doing all this. They're just like, okay, Troy.
no, but I'm an adult, they're not gonna change my mentality on things, or, I don't try to change people's ideals. I don't try to tell you what to believe in. Like, as long as you're a chill person or peaceful, I don't care what you believe. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care what you want to do with your life, as long as you're not hurting other people. And they weren't happy,
Mhm.
because I think they were pretty nervous, especially with the past 2 years on how many friends I've lost and stuff. But they know me, and they know that's what I'm going to do until I'm either my body's broken or, I can't do it anymore,
Mhm.
which, to be fair, is coming up soon. I'm getting kind of old, and my body's been pretty busted up. I've blown my knees out, my neck's messed up, and
Mhm.
all these concussions and everything else. So,
So say the war ends.
Hmm.
What are you doing? Like the war's over. What do you do next?
just enjoying being alive, man.
Are you still living in Ukraine?
Yeah. I'm going to live in Kyiv, so I'll just enjoy it, Victory Day, and have a couple beers with some of my Ukrainian buddies, and just relax.
Yeah, and I guess like one of my last questions, because we're almost at our time. How do you see if there are negotiations
Mhm.
and they negotiate the borders like how they are now, like the front lines as they are now, and these are the new borders? Are you fine with this? Because the
No.
war stopped.
No, definitely not fine with it. I mean, the Russians have taken territory that's not theirs. So the borders that we have right now, I wouldn't blame any Ukrainian for not wanting to submit to that and sign off on that. But it's not my country.
Mhm.
I wasn't born here, so I don't have the right to say keep fighting or stop fighting.
Mhm.
But whatever they choose, I'm with them. If Ukraine as a whole decides we've had enough bloodshed, the Russians want to hold here, and that's fine with us. It's 100% okay with me. It's their country. If they want to keep fighting, I'll be here for that too. So, but no, where the borders are now, I don't agree with it, because, that'd be like my neighbor coming over and taking half of my garden.
Mhm.
That's half of my produce, like half of my crops, right? and then someone saying, well, I know you lost half, but this is a good deal, so just take it.
I'm
And
not
it's
going to
like,
take more.
and it's like, no, my family needed all that. That's why we
Yeah.
had that allotted area for the garden, right? So Ukraine needs all their property back. They need all their real estate, but like I said, it's not up to me to choose what they seem reasonable, or like what they agree with. But whatever they decide, I'll back them 100%.
I totally understand. It's a really good analogy. But yeah, I guess one of my last questions then, what do you think would be like your most memorable experience, fighting? It could be like this moments where it kind of changed your perspective on the war. It could be a moments that traumatized you, like what the heck, or moments where you just reflected on your life in general. Has there ever been a moment like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple, but I would say like the most defining was on a mission, and basically, like, long story short, we missed the infill point to our trench, and I was point man, so I was the first man, and I'm like, shit, like I missed it, and my buddy behind me, he's like, I was looking too, like we couldn't find it, the trees were down, everything, and the entire time we could hear Russians talking. They were like 10 feet, 15 feet from us, and we're walking past them, and so him and I, we like have to decide and make a call. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to try to cut back and find it? Or like, some guys would be like, we got to scrub the mission. We can't do it now. And him and I are like close, because the Russians, they're talking. So we have to whisper. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, F it. I was like, let's see how far we can go. And he like leans back, and we're looking at each other through night vision. And I could see him smile, and I'm smiling like it's about to get crazy, like, because during the brief, I can't say how many guys we had, whatever, but there was about 100 Russians in this area, and we had very few, right? But so we decided to keep pushing, and I tell the guys behind me, like, stay back. And they kind of look at me. I was like, stay back, like, keep your dispersion to this, hand and arm signals. Yeah. Because in my head, I'm like, we're going to get shot. Like, we're going to get lit up as soon as they hear us. Like, we're in the middle of all their stuff, and they're going to light us up. So we ended up slowly moving and getting to the very end of their line. And we walked up on these two Russians. They were trying to go to sleep, and they're like talking back and forth. And we make our way about 4 feet from them.
And you're in a trench, or is this?
Oh, we're outside. Okay. So they had like ranger graves, kind of like they had little personal holes that they were in. So it wasn't like a big trench, but it was still like dug in like a trench, and they had covered the tops. So him and I were like looking at each other, and we sat there for about 15 minutes listening to these guys, and I'm like looking at him like, which one do you want me to kill? Like, what's going on? Like, who do you want me to shoot? And he looks in one hole, looks in the other. The guy lights a cigarette or something, so he like pulls back. And this guy had heard him. We don't speak Russian, so we didn't understand. They were like, did you move? Did you hear something? And he's like, yeah, I heard something. My other buddy that speaks, he was behind us and translated after. But he goes to look, and this guy comes running out of the trench. He like stands up, pulls the screen back, and has his AK. My buddy's like, boom, 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 shoots him. And as soon as he shoots him, this guy was already on edge. So he like starts popping up, and I hear him like try to break through his stuff. Yeah. So I turn from like 4 feet away, 5 feet, shoot him like 5 times. And then it was like quiet. And then this guy's like, blat, oh, Yeah. And then I was like, oh shit, he just woke everybody up. And this guy over here stands up, because there were Russians all on the line. Yeah. Right. I mean, we passed 40 of them, 50, something like that were right by us. And I turn and I put my laser on him, and I go to engage, and my rifle's like click. And as I hear the click, this guy's like turning, and he's looking at me, and he gets ready to shoot me. And my Ukrainian buddy that was kind of like shifted, that had them stay back, he turns and shoots this guy like 28 times. And so then it's like, and it's kind of quiet, and then everything, just bullets everywhere. There was like 40, maybe 50 Russians just shooting at us. So there's bullets everywhere. And we do like a peel out. Yeah. So like, guy will go, you cover, guy will go, you cover, guy will go. And that's how we egress. Yeah. So we constantly have cover for everyone. And my weapon's down, so I'm working on it. So I pull out of the peel and I see them, and I look over at my buddy. He like starts falling, and there's bullets going by.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
like, shit. I was like, it's like he just got done up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I thought he just got freaking dispatched or whatever. So I run over, and as I get like halfway to him, he starts getting up, and I'm like, oh shit. Okay, they all missed, but he like stumbled or something.
Yeah.
So he gets up and he starts moving, and there's a guy. I kind of had an angle on him, and he was shooting at my buddies over here. And I remember thinking like, I'm gonna jump in the trench and stab this guy so I can take his rifle. So like I go to pull my knife out, and I get kind of close to him, and then I'm like, oh shit, like if my guys didn't see me get in this trench with him and I'm climbing out with an AK, like my own buddies are gonna shoot me.
Yeah.
So I got maybe 8 feet, something like that. And I grabbed a grenade and I just threw it, and I laid down on the ground, and I finished him.
Yeah.
Went right in his hole. It's a freaking awesome shot. But so he's done. A couple of my other buddies, they're opening up with machine guns. Like everybody's engaging. My weapon's down, so I'm just trying to like get back, get it working. Still doesn't work. I go to run up to one of my buddies that had 2 weapons, and was like, give me one of your weapons so I can start engaging, because they were 10 feet from us, 20 feet, like they're everywhere. And as I get by him, he gets shot and falls down. And he's like, I just got my effing finger shot off. And I was like, oh shit. So I turned and I see the guy that was like shooting direct.
Yeah.
And I figured that was who it was. But after talking to like everyone else, I think it was a guy that was on this angle from him. But anyways, I see that guy and I just grab another grenade, and he's probably like 25 feet from me in the woods. Yeah, there's like no trees. Everything's just barren. They blew all the trees apart. So it's just little holes everywhere that they're in.
Yeah.
And I grab my grenade and I just throw it as hard as I can. And after I throw it, like I always say, it was one of the stupidest things I've done. But I just started walking and like watching where it was at instead of like running to get out. And I seen it, it blew up right next to his head, and it fucking killed him. But he was screaming, like we're like morbidly screaming until he died. And like the whole time we're running out, I heard this guy dying the whole time. He was like screaming, and like that kind of messed me up for a minute. You know what I mean? Because like most of the people that I've killed, it's just like quick, like do them up, stitch them up, whatever you want to call it, and it's whatever. But like this dude, I watched it blow up next to his head. I know what they do, so like I know the damage, and like none of his friends went to him or anything. As we're leaving, I heard him screaming until he died. So like that was kind of tough to take, but at the same time, I was like, you're a Russian in Ukraine, like you get what you deserve. Like I can't feel that bad about doing it, because he shouldn't have been here, and who knows what he did to Ukrainian men or women. So he got his face blown off for being here. But that was it was like kind of defining, because I'd never been in an engagement where it was like that close from the beginning, and like just straight up. Like I've been in houses at night in Fallujah where dudes didn't know we were in there, but like these guys were so close, and like the engagement where we were so damn close to them, and then being extremely outnumbered and like just fighting, and we had one casualty, that was it. And
I was gonna ask you, one casualty.
It just jacked up his finger.
Okay, just finger,
so like it actually hit the rifle, went down his finger, and then I think because he like turned, he had like a cut through his ear. It like went straight up. So I think part of the shrapnel went through his ear a little bit, but it was like really weird to go through that. And I remember thinking the entire time, like I didn't feel any adrenaline. I was just calm the entire time. Like I said, I try to stay chill. So I think that was like my defining thing, where I was like, okay, I have it in me to like do this shit and just not have any emotion at that time. Like when we got back, I felt bad as hell. Like I could hear that. Like I could still hear the guy. I was like, man, like my buddy was like, did you hear that guy screaming? And I was like, yeah, dude, I blew his face off with a grenade. It was like, I watched it blow up right next to him, and he was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad, dude. I was like, I kind of feel bad about it, because there's like a minute and a half, trying to assess, but he just laid there screaming till he died, but.
How do you deal with this trauma?
Whiskey.
Okay.
No, I don't know, man. Sometimes I talk to my buddies about it, or, I guess you do what you can, have bad dreams and all that
bad dreams,
shit,
but Do you ever think about like maybe talking to a psychiatrist or something like this?
Yeah, I used to. Like after.
Do you feel like it helped?
Yes and no. Because like there's some shit I just don't want to talk about at the time, and then like you get it out and it just, you know, then it seems like the day's a lot harder than it was before that came up. You know, U.S. Marines were really good at shelving things and just kind of tucking it away. Like I tell everybody, I was like, you'll deal with the shit after the war's over. I don't have time to deal with it right now. So the less I have to think about these things, or the less I let it bug me, the better I'll be at my job for now. I'll have time years after this to get shrunk with the shrink, and, you know, and talk about whatever I need to talk about. But now's not the time. I need to stay the guy that I am for now.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Oh, I mean, you must be mentally strong, man. Like, I know that whole story just sounded so intense, man. Trauma, like every second of that story. Oh man, now you're a hero, man. I mean, I'm sure. Okay. Last question. When you're with like other foreign people, do you feel like a connection with them, like a stronger connection, a bond with them because they don't have to be here, or do you feel like a stronger bond with the Ukrainian people? Because I feel like Ukrainian people, they would probably respect you so much more because you don't have to be here.
Yeah, we get that a lot, man, and that's why I love the Ukrainians so much. You know, like every unit I've been with or worked with, they just take us in. You know, you're hungry, we'll make borscht. I mean, they just ate and they'll make us food. We're showing up, and it's like, we just ate, and they're like, no, we'll make you food. So when you're hungry, you know, or they'll give us, you know, so like the hospitality with the Ukrainians is amazing. They're great people. You know, and I think that's like culturally driven. They're just really great people around. But like the foreign fighters, I think, you know, we speak English and we have similar backgrounds where, like you said, we don't have to be here, but at the same time, we're all strongly convicted for this cause of trying to preserve humanity, preserve Ukraine's culture, and not letting countries like Russia get away with this shit anymore. Like, we just want this shit to stop. And, you know, we all have children, we all have family, friends, you know, nieces, nephews, whatever, where you look at the world now, it's like, I don't want that for them 10 years from now. You know, so I think I bond with both sides, but, you know, obviously it's differently.
Yeah. I mean, you're a hero, man. You're doing so much for Ukraine and you're putting your life on the line. This is the most valuable thing that you have.
I'm not, man. We're just regular guys.
And you still want to go back. Oh, it blows my mind, man. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had more to give, but from all the people I talk to, they're like, you have no experience, Corey. You're better off doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, keep doing this,
don't go to the front, bro.
You're making bigger waves doing this.
Well, thanks, man. I'm making bigger waves having guests like you on my podcast doing this, man.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, I guess it's a good spot to end. So if you want to plug your socials or maybe any charitable organization you can think of, or anything that you just want to tell the audience before we sign off, you can look into that camera and then just plug away.
I just want to say thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate all the support. Keep watching Corey's channel. My Instagram is Tiger in Ukraine. That's one way to contact me. So if you guys want to look me up and hit me up, that's fine. I try to respond to every message. It's tough some days, but I promise I'll hit you back if you have any questions or anything like that. There are a lot of good organizations, so I can't really, you know, put one out there specifically. But if you have anything indirectly or directly that you want to sponsor or something like that, let me know, and I'll help facilitate it with the best organization.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Troy. Let me just sign off. Also, thanks again, guys, for watching another episode of Expats in Ukraine. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or just want to chat with Troy in the comments, go ahead and leave a comment as well. Troy, thank you so much for joining the cast. Your stories are so interesting, and man, I just wish you all the best with whatever you end up doing, and I hope the victory is soon, so we can, all have whiskeys and celebrate on Maidan, man. Well, what I like to do at the end of the podcast is shake the hand of the guest. So, come on over here, man. Thank you so much for joining us, man.